I am the man who thought he could draw a map where God's eyes couldn't see. I am the prophet who looked at the horizon, pointed to the west, and told the creator of the heavens that he was wrong. Most people know me as the man swallowed by a whale, a children's story about a big fish and a disobedient sailor. But that reduces the terror of what happened to a cartoon. You don't understand the silence of the deep until you've been buried in it. You don't understand the weight of a divine command until it crushes your bones like gravity. My name is Jonah, and before the darkness took me, I was running, not from a monster, but from a mission I found too cruel to accept. It began with a voice that wasn't a sound, but a burning pressure in my chest. The word of the Lord came to me, clear and undeniable. Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and call out against it, for their evil has come up before me. Nineveh, just the name tasted like ash and blood in my mouth. You have to understand what that city meant to us. To my Peopla, the Assyrians weren't just enemies. They were the embodiment of nightmare. They didn't just conquer, they erased. They were known to pile the skulls of their victims at the city gates. They skinned their captives alive and hung their flesh on the walls as tapestries of horror. So when God told me to go there, to walk into the heart of that grinder and offer them a warning which implied a chance for mercy, my soul revolted. It wasn't fear that stopped me. If God had asked me to march into battle against them, to die fighting them, I might have done it. It was the possibility of their redemption that sickened me. I didn't want Nineveh warned. I wanted them judged. I wanted the fire to fall without a prelude. I felt that if I went, if I spoke, God's annoying habit of being compassionate would kick in. I couldn't bear the thought of those butchers receiving grace. I made a choice that seems insane now, but in the heat of my anger, it felt like the only way to keep my integrity. I decided to resign from being a prophet. I packed my few belongings, pulled my hood over my head, and walked down to Joppa. My destination wasn't just another city, it was a statement. I looked for a ship going to Tarshish. In our geography, Tarshish was the end of the world. It was likely what you know today as Spain. If Nineveh was to the far east, Tarshish was the farthest west. I was literally trying to go to the opposite side of the planet from God's will. I found a ship. It was a heavy merchant vessel, smelling of tar and unwashed men. The captain was a Phoenician, a man of the sea who cared only for coin, not for the grim determination of a Hebrew stranger. I paid a high price to run away, as we always do, and stepped onto the deck. As the ropes were cast off and the coastline of Israel began to shrink, I felt a twisted sense of relief. I thought I had done it. I thought geography could separate a man from his calling. The sky was clear, the wind was favorable, and I told myself that the silence from the heavens was a sign that God had let me go. I was wrong. The silence was just the breath before the scream. Exhausted by my own rebellion, I went down into the inner part of the ship. The air down there was stale, thick with the scent of cargo and damp wood, but it felt like a womb where I could hide. I curled up in the darkness and fell into a deep, heavy sleep. It was the sleep of sorrow, the kind of unconsciousness that comes when you are trying to shut down your own mind. While I slept, the world above me began to tear apart. It wasn't a natural storm. Seasoned sailors know the difference between bad weather and a hunting wind. The sea didn't just swell, it boiled. The winds hit the ship with the precision of a hammer strike. Up on the deck, chaos had erupted. These were tough men who had sailed through hurricanes and pirate waters, but they were weeping. The ship was groaning, the timbers threatening to snap under the pressure of the waves. The cargo crates of oil, grain, heavy pottery was being tossed overboard in a frantic attempt to lighten the load. but the sea just laughed at their sacrifice. I was shaken awake by the rough hands of the shipmaster. His face was pale, illuminated by the flashes of lightning that cracked the sky open. "What do you mean, you sleeper?" he screamed over the roar of the wind. "Arise, call out to your God. Perhaps that God will give a thought to us, that we may not perish." The irony cut me deeper than the cold. Here were pagan sailors praying to every deity they knew, Baal, Ashtoreth, Dagon, begging for salvation, while I, the prophet of the one true God, was asleep in my guilt. He didn't know that the storm wasn't hunting the ship. It was hunting me. I stumbled up to the deck. The scene was apocalyptic. The waves were mountains of black water, crashing down with a violence that felt personal. The sailors were huddled together, terror in their eyes. They had realized this wasn't weather, it was supernatural. They decided to cast lots, an ancient way of determining whose guilt had brought this curse upon them. I stood there, holding on to the railing, soaked to the bone, watching the small stones or pieces of wood being tossed. I knew the result before it landed. The lot fell on Jonah. Suddenly, a dozen pairs of eyes turned to me. The fear in their faces turned to suspicion and anger. They circled me, shouting questions over the howling wind. "Tell us on whose account this evil has come to us. What is your occupation? Where do you come from? What is your country? And of what people are you?" I looked at them, these strangers who were about to die because of my stubbornness. I couldn't lie. Not here, at the edge of the grave. I straightened my back against the lurching of the ship and spoke the truth that condemned me. "I am a Hebrew," I shouted, my voice barely carrying over the thunder. "And I fear the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." The admission hit them harder than the waves. They were terrified. They knew of this God. They knew that you do not run from the one who sculpted the ocean floor. "What is this that you have done?" they cried out. They understood the gravity of my sin better than I did. I had turned their vessel into a battlefield between a prophet and his creator. The sea was growing more tempestuous by the second, the waves reaching up as if to drag the masts down to the depths. "What shall we do to you, that the sea may quiet down for us?" they asked. It was a plea for mercy. They didn't want to kill me, but they didn't want to die. I looked at the churning black water. I realized then that there was no U-turn available. I couldn't just say, "Okay, I'll go to Nineveh," and expect the sun to shine. The justice of the storm demanded a price. I had been willing to let the Ninevites die for their sins. Now I had to be willing to die for mine. It was a moment of absolute clarity. I was the cancer in the ship. I was the weight that was dragging them down. "Pick me up and hurl me into the sea," I told them. "Then the sea will quiet down for you. For I know it is because of me that this great tempest has come upon you." They hesitated. Even in their terror, they had more humanity than I had shown toward Nineveh. They tried to row back to land. They strained against their oars, their muscles tearing, their lungs burning, trying to outrun the will of God to save one guilty man. But the sea rose up against them even higher. It was a wall of water, blocking every path except the one I had chosen. The Almighty would not let them save me. My flight was over. Finally, defeated and terrified of incurring blood, the sailors cried out to my God, "O Lord, let us not perish for this man's life, and lay not on us innocent blood. For you, O Lord, have done as it pleased you." They approached me. I didn't fight. I felt the rough wood of the railing against my back one last time. Hands grabbed my tunic and my legs. I took a final breath of the stormy air, closing my eyes against the stinging rain. Then I was airborne. For a second, there was weightlessness. Then the cold shock of the ocean hit me like a solid wall. The water rushed into my nose and mouth, cold and salty. I tumbled into the turbulence, waiting for the end. Above me, I saw the distorted shape of the ship's hull moving away, and almost instantly, the water around me went still. The raging ceased. The surface calmed. I sank into the silence, alone in the vast, crushing dark. I thought this was death. I thought I was drowning in the consequences of my own hate. But I wasn't alone in the water. Something ancient was moving in the depths below me. A shadow darker than the ocean itself was rising to meet me. Before we descend into the abyss of what happened next, I need you to understand that this wasn't just a physical journey, it was a dismantling of my soul. If you want to hear how a man survives 3 days in the belly of a beast and what it truly looks like to be broken and rebuilt by God, you need to subscribe to the channel right now. Hit the like button. If you're brave enough to face your own storms, turn on that notification bell and comment below, "I am listening." Because the story of my death is only the beginning. The mouth didn't crunch, it engulfed. I was sucked into a vortex of rushing water and contracting muscle. The faint light of the surface vanished instantly, replaced by a suffocating, wet heat. I slid down a tunnel of living flesh, tumbling uncontrollably until I landed in a chamber of horrors. People imagine a spacious room inside the whale, like a cavern, but it was a coffin of acid and decay. The air was thick with the stench of digesting fish and stale brine. The darkness was absolute heavy, physical weight that pressed against my eyeballs. For 3 days and 3 nights, I existed in the belly of death. Seaweed wrapped around my head like a shroud, and the gastric fluids burned my skin. I was conscious, yet buried. This was Sheol, the pit of the grave, the place where hope usually goes to die. In that crushing isolation, stripped of my pride, my national prejudice, and my rebellion, I finally broke. I didn't bargain. I didn't argue. I simply surrendered. From the depths of the abyss, I whispered a prayer, not of demand, but of thanksgiving, acknowledging that salvation belongs to the Lord alone. I promised to stop running. Then the convulsing began. The great beast shuddered, its muscles contracting in a violent spasm. I was propelled upward, forcing my way through the throat until the world spun and I was face down in the wet sand, gasping for air that didn't smell of rot. The sun seared my eyes. I was alive, vomited out by the creation I had tried to flee, deposited right back onto the path of the Creator's will. I stood up, trembling, my skin bleached and raw from the acid, and turned my face toward the east, toward Nineveh. This time, I didn't hesitate. I walked into that city of blood, a living ghost returning from the dead. I didn't offer them a soft message or a motivational speech. I marched through their massive gates and shouted the ultimatum, 40 days more, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. I expected them to laugh. I expected them to kill me on the spot. But as my voice echoed off their imposing stone walls, something miraculous and terrifying happened. The laughter never came. The king rose from his throne. He traded his royal robes for sackcloth and ashes. The violence stopped. A hush fell over the metropolis as thousands of brutal warriors fell to their knees in the dust. They fasted. They wept. They turned from their evil ways with a sincerity that shocked me. The judgment I so desperately wanted to see fall upon them was suspended. God saw their works, that they turned from their evil way, and God relented of the disaster that he had said he would do to them. I learned the hardest lesson a man can learn. God's mercy is not a finite resource to be hoarded by the good people. It is a flood that can wash even the bloodiest hands clean. You cannot outrun your purpose, and you certainly cannot limit the compassion of the Almighty. He is the God of the storm, the God of the great fish, and the God of the second chance. Don't make the mistake of waiting until you are in the belly of the beast to finally look up. If this story spoke to your spirit, please subscribe to the channel for more true histories from the ancient world. Leave a like to support our work. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a journey. And comment below with the words, "I will not run." Until next time,